Hello, everybody. We are live, and this is another episode of the Bliss Code Podcast. I am your girl, Jamie Drew from the blisscode.net, and I have a new friend of mine, Danny White, with me today. Everybody, please welcome Danny White. If you are joining us live, make sure you get in here and put your questions into the chat so that we can get to you or your comments because we have an expert right in front of you, and please take advantage of this opportunity to grow and to learn and for us to be in community together, women together, connecting and us elevating. So, first of all, Danny, thank you for being here and talking to us and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. It's great to meet you first off a couple of weeks ago. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here. It's always good to meet cool people, cool women who are
Yes.
like doing cool things in the world. So, yes, glad to be here.
Yes. 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 Now I want to talk about let me get into your bio a little bit because I want to let the people know exactly who
Okay.
you are. And you have over a decade of experience and you work with digital marketing and you elevate the presence and profitability of small to mid-sized businesses and nonprofits, right?
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
So this is branding, this is marketing, and you've worked with everybody from personal brands all the way to the big dogs, the Fortune 500.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's been quite the journey for sure.
I see. Like, so you just can pick your lane now because you're like, okay, I've experienced both sides of the fence. So I know, when we get into business for ourselves, we start to evolve and start to, realize who we are and the things
Hmm.
that we like and want to
Yep.
do. So
Yep.
tell us a little bit about, your journey and how you decided, well, this is exactly what I want to do, and this is exactly who I want to work with. How did you come to this current version of Danny White?
Cool. So I kind of say that I fell into this version.
Hmm.
It wasn't really a choice necessarily. So like when I went to college, I majored in psychology because no one told me, anything else to major in. But you can't get a job in psychology if you don't have like a PhD and all the
Yeah,
certifications, and so I didn't know
yeah.
that going in. And
That's
so I
so
was like, okay,
funny.
it's so weird, but like you're not gonna get a high paying job in those types of fields if you don't have certifications and all of the
Mm-hmm.
things. And so I did my undergrad, did my graduate in psychology, and I was like, okay, we got like almost $200,000 in student loans, no job.
Girl.
I don't think we finna continue this journey because this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. But at the same time, I had an essay writing business that basically it was my hustle. Like I was hustling college students
Hold
and
on.
and
Hold
and high
on.
school students writing their essays. So
So
like it
you
had
were
nothing
already
to
an
do with
entrepreneur.
psychology. It had absolutely nothing to do with these
Wait a
programs I
minute.
was
Hold
doing.
on. I need to stop you because I was about to feel sorry for you. Like, oh man, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Like, she
Mm-mm.
got into a major that wasn't lucrative for her. No, homegirl was a business owner on the side already.
Yes, that was my side business. Like, of course, it wasn't like a real business like I am now. But yeah, I was getting paid to write essays. That's what I was doing.
Wow, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I did that for oh gosh, 6 years, just writing essays on a wide range of stuff I didn't even know about. And yeah, that's kind of what I did for 6 years, all through like high school, college, grad school. That's what I was doing. Now, the money that I was making, of course, it didn't measure up to the student loans. Like the student loans was up here, and the money I was making was like right here. But I wasn't broke.
Uh-huh. Like the
So
average college student, you were not broke.
yes,
Okay.
yes, I had money to do stuff, right? But
Mhm.
it wasn't a whole lot of money. Um, but yeah, I did that, and then I started writing for like several publications. I just started like, okay, what am I going? I like writing just in
Okay.
general. Um, I just enjoy the process. Like I just enjoy the process of like coming up with new ideas, interviewing people, coming up with topics and themes and all of those types of things. And so then after that, I just started like writing for various publications, like small newspapers, small magazines, and then I got to write for Inc. magazine, which was like the big entrepreneurial like magazine. It's kind of still a big magazine today, but I didn't know how big it was back then because I'm like 22 years old, like
Mm-hmm.
interviewing 7 and 8 figure business owners, not knowing what the heck I'm doing. But like they was like, yeah, this is good. We'll publish it. And so they gave me a column, and I started writing like weekly for them. And those articles are like still up. And
Wow, Jamie.
I'm trying to go revisit my ink days and like get back into that type of writing. But we'll see. The future will tell us what that is. Um, and then how I got into my first job, which was in content marketing, was someone saw my post on Ink Magazine and they reached out to me and they were like, "Oh, we love your writing. Can you come and like run our content program?" And that's just how I
Mm.
got started in content marketing. Like, and I've been in it ever since. Like, just
Wow.
saying yes all along the way to like all the random weird opportunities that came along, and also really having like no real direction. So there was no real like, this is what you should do, this is what you have to do. Like, it was none of
Mm-hmm.
that because nobody around me like had that type of input into my life. So it was just like, okay, this sounds cool, let's go with it. And that's kind of like how I've been doing it up until now.
I am amazed because you you were on your A game. You had your main character energy early, early, early on. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you clearly have been just going with the flow, following your zone of genius, which it takes a lot of people a long time to really get there. And you were just owning yours right off the bat.
Yes, yes, like
I'm
whatever I could do or whatever I felt like I could do at that moment, that's what I did. It might not have
so
been right, it might not have been like the right path at that time, but
mhm,
looking back on it, it's like, okay, all of these little things added up to like these big things, right? So,
mhm.
yeah.
How did you gain that confidence? Like, tell me about, okay, the first paper. Somebody asked you to do it. Like, how did you say, yes, I'm capable of this. I'll write your paper. And not only will I write your paper, I'm going to charge you for it. So, because I knew some girls in college that was doing people's homework and stuff
Hmm.
and weren't charging fees. They were,
Yes.
they were
Yeah.
being gotten over on. But you, like, you made this a thing because I know if people in college they're looking for their hustles, they might do people's hair or
Hmm.
different things like that. You said I will write your paper. How did that come about?
So it really started when I was very little. So when I was very little, I was always sick. Like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, I was always sick. I had very bad migraines as a kid. And
Mm-hmm.
so like so bad that my parents would take me to the emergency room, like, what the heck is going on with you?
Wow.
And they did some tests, but it was like, oh, there's nothing we can do. You just have migraines. This is going to be your thing for your whole life. And so part of that was like I couldn't go to school because I had so many ailments like that. I couldn't
Yeah.
focus, I couldn't look at a computer screen, couldn't read a book, couldn't do certain things because I'm little and I just have like all of these migraines that are just constantly happening. And
Right.
so over time, like I started to get into poetry. Like I started like writing actual poetry as a little kid, like seven,
Mm-hmm.
8, 9 years old. My parents would steal books from the library because that was our form of education during that time.
Check them out and never
Um,
bring them back.
them books still, we still owe them library people. Um, but that's what I mean. That's what I did. I read books and like wrote on the side, and that ever since I was a kid, that's kind of like the thing that I've fallen into. And so when I became a teenager, it was like, okay, first off, we were always broke. We always needed money as a family. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this something got we got to something got to give. Like this cannot
This
be
ain't the move.
this is not the life. Yeah, because literally it was 9 of us, mom, dad, and 7 of us kids, and
Wow.
it's like, and I'm the oldest of the 7, so I'm like, we this is
Oh,
not possible.
girl. You had
Not
to lead
possible.
the way, honey.
So that's when I started like, okay, we have to do something. Like, and I lied about my age. The first essay project I got, I lied about my age. I was 15 years old. I told the people I was 18 because you had to be 18 to write for the platform.
Yes, girl.
And I told a lie, but they weren't none the wiser, so they didn't figure out. And my first project was $25. Like I would pay $25 for a 4-page paper.
Go ahead,
And I was like,
girl.
this is pretty good. I don't know. I don't know
Especially
how
at
much
15
fun
years
it's gonna buy.
old. 15
Yes.
years old, $25 is a lot. You could do a lot with that. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. You made that work.
Yes.
And so you
Yes.
were like, oh, I'm about to wash, rinse, repeat this thing.
That was my first essay, and then even from there, because a lot of college students are paying for the essays, they don't really have a whole lot of money. So I kind of stayed like between 25 and 50 for a long time. But
Wow.
if
Oh
you're
my,
doing there was a time when I was doing like 10 to 15 essays a week. Like I was just sitting and writing, pounding out essays,
banging them out
and
before
just
Chat GPT.
before Chat GPT, like you got to sit and think about these topics.
Yeah.
Quantum physics, like what I know about quantum physics, nothing at
Wow.
all. Right.
Wow.
But it was just getting on Google, researching, and going from there. And that's kind of like my first real job in content was in content.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. So then you get this column that they gave you, and
Hmm.
is this all shaping how I want to get to how your business is now, and how you got to crafting
Hmm.
what you're doing right now. Like how was that helping to shape who you are right now?
Um, I think for me, like once I got to like 23, 24, 25, it was just like, okay, I can't, this is not enough money
Okay.
to like do anything with. Like it's not enough money for me to live on as a person. Because at that point, like I was like ready to move out of my parents' house. I wanted my own apartment. I wanted my own car. I wanted a whole lot. Like there's a lot of things that I wanted in life, right?
Right.
And so it was like something I got to do something else. And at that time, colleges don't really help you find jobs, which is a misunderstanding that
Yeah.
a lot of us as like back then 16, 17, 18, we don't go into college with that understanding. We think that, oh, we're going to get this 4-year degree and then we're going to go get a good job.
Yep.
In reality, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody told me that. So while I was still doing this essay writing, because even when I graduated and went into my master's, I was still doing essay writing for high school students, college
Okay.
students, and then I started writing master's level papers, and I charged a little bit more for those. Now I made all this up, made up the topics. Sometimes people will come and say, I don't know what to write. Like this is the what we're supposed to be writing about, but I don't have a clue. I would make something up for them. That's how that's literally like how I started getting into writing and just content management, which at the time I didn't know was content management.
Okay.
So then graduate from high school, graduate from grad school, and I'm like, okay, I still don't have like a real job,
Mm-hmm.
so I need to find something. And I came across Inc. magazine. They were looking for contributing writers. In hindsight, I don't know why I signed up for this because it was free. Like they're not paying you for the content. But I felt like they were a large enough magazine to be like, okay, maybe I'll get something out of this. Like maybe it'll be name recognition or something like that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I wrote a couple of articles for them, and then that's kind of like what led me to like my first full-time job, like
Okay.
salary paid job.
Okay.
And so this guy, he reached out to me and he was like, I saw one of your pieces in Inc. magazine. Let's have a chat. We're starting this marketing company in Texas. We need a content person. And that's kind of like, I was like, yeah, this sounds better than any other job offer that I got, which was zero. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. This sounds great. Little did I know, like, it would turn into like a 5 to 6 year job.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with company for 6 years, and during that time, I started writing, like starting my own marketing agency, started doing my own content, started doing things like that, and so I was working with them and running my agency towards the end of my time with them. And yeah, that's how I got here.
Wow, that is a really cool story. Like, but
Yeah.
I feel like you just had like a I'm gonna get it mentality from the beginning. And I think that's important for a lot of people to absorb in your story, because they think, well, how can I do this? How can I become an entrepreneur? How can I get this done?
Mm-hmm.
And they see it as larger than life. But you had the confidence to go right through and just did what you loved. And it just really just came to you. It just kind of fell in your lap because you were looking for opportunities to showcase yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
and I think for me, like, it's also looking at opportunities for like what they are, because I think a lot of
mhm.
times when we look at sometimes we look at opportunities and we're like, well, we're not getting paid XYZ for this, and you need to know your worth. All of that is true, but to even get there, you have to have some type of track record. Like,
Right.
and that track record, it might not be like all glam and glitter. Like, you might not get paid a top dollar for your work, but it shows like what you can do. And
Mhm.
that I feel is even more important than education now.
I agree. I oh,
Because
especially now.
yes, it's the number one when I got my first job, it's the number one question that they asked me. Like, okay, what is the content that you can write for us? They never asked me what school I went to. They never asked me how many degrees I had. They never
Right.
asked me what I majored in. They asked me, what is it that you can do for us? Like, I've seen what you can do for this magazine. What can you do for me? And that's what
Yes.
most people care about. So
Yes.
yeah, it's finding, like, seeking out those opportunities and saying yes to those opportunities, even though they might not be all, what you want it to be.
Lucrative at the
Lucrative,
moment.
yes, lucrative at the
Mhm.
moment. It can be an opportunity for you down the road that you might be forfeiting if you're not willing to like go through the process. So that's what I
Mm.
tell people. But the flip side of that is like, okay, you should know your worth, which you absolutely should, but don't
Mhm.
allow like that way of thinking to say the no for you out of so many opportunities. So
Right.
yeah,
Because, like you said, you were getting paid in recognition and visibility, and you were crafting your narrative of who you are
yeah,
as, an established writer. And
yes.
that, oh my gosh, that is a perfect segue, because it takes me right into personal branding, because you were literally building your personal brand without even knowing it,
Yeah.
and in who you are, so that they even came to you. You didn't have to reach it. You had your credibility and were showing your worth and your value right there. Talk to me about, because you said, I use your words for the title of this 2024 year of the personal brand.
Yeah.
Why I do feel that as well. I feel like it's a time for authenticity. I feel like
Hmm.
people really appreciate someone being authentic. And you tell me what made you come to that conclusion that this is the year of the personal brand, and tell me how people can use that as a leg up for their businesses and really their lifestyle.
Yes. So November of 2022, I believe it was, ChatGPT was like coming into the world, right? And a lot of people didn't really know how to use it. And even I was getting questions like in my LinkedIn messages and in Instagram DMs, like, okay, ChatGPT, like, how do I use it? Like, is it going to like run my business? Like, how am I not going to have a job? Like, do I need to run
Mhm.
my, like, questions like that? And
Mhm.
so I personally feel like over time, artificial intelligence is going to take away the need to manually do a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
And so what's going to happen is the people that are 100% relying on artificial intelligence to do everything for them, their brands are kind of going to decrease. Whereas it takes a little bit more time for you to authentically be yourself, to project your own opinions, to project your own thought leadership into the world. And that's going to come through building your own personal brand on these platforms. Right. And
Okay.
so it like there are two sides of the coin. Like, people who are like all in for artificial intelligence, like, okay, it's going to do everything for me, and I'm just like going to do 10% of the work, which might be true in some instances. And then the other side of the coin is basically people who are like, no, I'm not adopting to AI at all. It's of the devil. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay,
Mhm.
that crew is going to be largely left behind. Right. And
Right.
so I feel like personal branding is going to be more so what is your opinion on a particular topic, What
Mm-hmm.
is your thought leadership on a particular topic or a particular theme? And that is even what is going to cause a lot of the search engine optimization to be modified a lot, which Google just released an
Okay.
update like a week and a half ago, basically
Okay.
decreasing all of this automated AI based content and looking for more personal opinions, personal thought leadership, personal storytelling, and they want that to be included in the content that they're producing. And so that's why I say
Oh,
that's why I say like this year is going to be the year of the personal brand because it's going to separate those people who are like playing and doing business, like playing around in their business from those that are truly taking the time to be like form their opinions, form their thoughts about what their business does, and
yeah.
produce that and share that with the world on a consistent basis. Like I feel like that's going to be the separating of the two.
Yeah, I agree. And let me pop this question up so people can know what we're talking about for those who of us who are watching us live.
Okay.
But I 100% agree because you talked about like the two extremes of the spectrum, people who are
Hmm.
overly relying on it and then people who don't want to use it at all.
Yeah.
Those people are going to get filtered out. But when you
Yeah.
insert your unique story, who you are, right? Because nobody that's the benefit of having a personal brand because it's you. No one can be who you are
Hmm.
and no one can do things the way that you can do them. So inserting your own story, putting your own stank on it, like I
Yes.
like to say.
Yes. Yep.
Because I remember, first starting my business and just working with other brands and coaches and spending money on advertising and things like that.
Hmm.
That's the first question, like, okay, what makes your brand unique? Because somebody's selling what you selling, baby.
Right. Exactly.
9 times
Yeah.
out of 10, somebody is selling what you're selling. So, what's going to be your story that's going to bring the people that you're connected with, the people that are vibrating on your same frequency,
Hmm.
that's going to give you the leg up?
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's something that we also do with the clients that we work with a lot of times.
Mhm.
So and it's a question that we get too. Like, okay, I'm a digital marketing agency. I run a digital marketing agency. Okay, there are a gazillion marketing agencies out here. Like, what makes your marketing agency different? And one
Yeah.
of the things that sets us apart is that when clients come to us with a problem that they're trying to solve in the market, it could be market positioning, it could be product positioning, it could be, we need to redesign our website because it looks like 1990s, like anything like that. The first thing that we tell them is that you have to sit down and think through what exactly does your brand do.
Mhm.
It's like literally the first question. And a lot of times it's difficult to sit with that question because they've not done that work before. They've just
Mhm.
said, "Okay, I want to start a mechanic shop." Okay, there are like 5 mechanic shops on my street. Why am I going to come to you?
Right.
That's the question that every customer asks in their head, right? And so it's a matter of like setting yourself apart. So one thing for us as a marketing agency, we're not just a marketing agency. One thing we don't do is paid media. We don't do paid media because a lot of times when clients come to us, they haven't established their brand enough to make paid
Mhm.
media worth it. So they spend money on ads, but they don't get the result that they want because nobody knows who you are. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
if you are organically running a campaign or you're running a paid media campaign, right? So that's one thing we tell clients from the jump. Marketing is a slow, consistent process. And I want you to understand that before you get into our funnel, right? Because if you don't understand it, it's easy for you to get confused and it's easy for you to be frustrated through the process. And so, like, and then another part of our branding is like, okay, we only work with small businesses that are in a
Mhm.
certain range. We do not work with enterprises. We don't work with people that are going public. We don't work with those type of
Okay.
companies because it's beyond the growth scale that we are willing to allow our time to be consumed with. So our passion is small businesses, and that's what these are the businesses that we want to work with. These are the businesses that we want to talk to. These are the businesses that we want to help grow, and we're very clear on like what that is. And so sometimes we'll get requests, especially on LinkedIn, because I do a lot of content over there on LinkedIn, and I'll get requests from people that are in enterprise companies like, "Oh, can we do a consult?" Well, the answer is no, because that's outside of our brand messaging, our brand identity. Like we
Mhm.
we don't we don't work with your type.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Listen, if y'all are listening, those of you who are listening right now, hear that and hear it loud, because what Danny is saying is that she has created a screen or a filter, if you will. This is for your business, and this is what I teach about your life as well. Your personal brand, your identity, who you are, your filter, your screen, what you will say
Mm-hmm.
yes to and what you will say no to,
Yep.
establishes who you are as a person and who you are as a brand. It doesn't matter. So a lot of times small business owners, they are struggling through this thing right here
Mm-hmm.
of deciding who they want to be as a business, and making it congruent for who they can accept to be in their lifestyle for their own personal brand.
Right.
It's like,
Yep.
who are you willing to be day in and day out? And the way that you propel yourself forward and level up to your highest heights is to say no to certain things and
Yes.
stay consistent in the one thing that is you, who
Yes.
you are, establishing your unique identity, what your voice is, and then staying consistent within that.
Yes. But I will
Yeah.
say here, how do you get to that? How do you get to the thing that you were going to say no to
Hmm.
is by having said yes to it before. So a lot of times,
Ooh.
so I'll use myself as an example. When I was working in my first job, well, it was my first and only job because then I'd be like, okay, I'm out. I'm finna go start my business. Um, um, I worked with a lot of enterprise clients.
Okay.
That's how I know that in this agency, I don't want to work with enterprise clients.
Hmm.
Like before, you can just say no, no, no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You have to try it out first and do a few projects that might be okay. You don't know what it is, but you're also not sure that it's a complete no. Like, say yes to those projects, and then you're able to say, okay, this is not who I want to work with in my business. I want to work with these people. I think that's also a part of market research and like just personal branding research as well. Like, can I even speak to
Hmm.
this audience effectively? That's not something that I want to do. And so how I got here is by doing that work first and knowing, okay, this is not what I want to do. I'm going to pivot.
Wow. I love hearing it from that perspective because I hadn't thought of that. It's almost like you need to feel what you don't like first.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like the bowling alley that has the bumpers on the gutters, like
Hmm.
trying to guide you back to where, it's like you got a bump. Okay. You
Yeah.
didn't like how that bump felt. Well, imagine the bumps having spikes on them.
Hmm. Yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's like, okay, I did not like that. So let me continue to stay in my lane. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about I do want to dive into consistency as well. That's one of the things that we hear all the time for elevating your profits and your presence. Is kind of hitting the same things over and over.
Hmm.
And I've seen entrepreneurs kind of get discouraged, not just entrepreneur, any creative person, right? Creatives get discouraged and not stay consistent because they're wanting to see results right away or whatever it is.
Hmm.
What can you tell people about, like, what do you tell your clients when you're taking them through this process, because I'm sure this comes up, and I'm sure when
Hmm.
you're analyzing them, you're seeing this kind of screaming at you.
Yeah.
How do
So
these conversations go?
So I'll go through what I go through personally because mine is like still evolving. Like my process is still evolving as I work with different types of small business. So for me, I ask myself like, what am I being consistent in and not being consistent in as an individual? Like set aside being an entrepreneur, set aside being a business owner, set aside all the other titles that we give ourselves, right? As an
Hmm.
individual person, just being Danny, what am I consistent in today and what I'm not consistent in? And I make a list of those things. The reason being, how you do one thing is going to be how you do everything, right? So I've yet to meet someone who is consistent, like let's say that they're consistent in exercise, they eat well, they exercise 5 times a week, they read a book every day. Like I've yet to meet someone who is consistently a well-rounded person who's also not consistently well-rounded in other aspects of their life.
Okay.
So that's the very first thing. If you cannot, let's say if you say you're gonna get up at 6 o'clock in the morning every morning for the rest of the year and you struggle with that, it's going to be very difficult for you to be consistent in other areas of your business and other
Mm-hmm.
areas of your life. So that's the first thing. Like just creating a self check of like, okay, what am I consistent in today? What am I not consistent in? And what do I need to improve? That's the first thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then secondly, while you're getting better at that level of consistency, you'll start to get better at other areas of your life and business. So what I've noticed in some of my clients is that they want all of these things. Like they want a video to go viral. They want to have 10,000 followers on Instagram and 10,000 on Facebook. And they want everyone to look at their content on LinkedIn. And they want to have 200 customers. And the principles that they need to be following to get there, they're not doing none of those principles. So the outcome, these great results that you want, they're very possible. But if you don't do the thing to get the thing, you're not going to get the thing. Like it's
No, indeed.
yes, it's not. It's not going to happen. It's not magic. So I always tell my customers it's not magic. Like if you're not producing content on a consistent basis, don't be mad when you still have 50 followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not magic. They're not going to fall out of the sky, right? So it's a matter of like, okay, putting in place the things that you need to reach the goal that you say you want.
I love
And
it.
then beyond that, is this goal that you say you want based upon your business, your life, your outcome, or is this based on something you saw someone else do?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times that's also the case, right? That's also like, well, I saw someone who has similar business to mine. They're selling digital products and they made $50,000 on doing digital products. So I think I should do a digital product. But you don't like selling. You don't produce content every day. They talk about their digital product 3 times a day. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a website. You don't have a CRM system. So it's a balance between like, okay, what do you want? Are you willing to do the things that you say you are you willing to do the things that you need to do to get the thing that you say you want? And is the thing you say you want based upon you or is it based upon someone else?
That's right.
Like these are all questions we have to ask before we get to like the actual consistency.
Girl, Danny, you just said a word. You said so much. I almost want to be like, girl, I'll pay you later because everything you're saying, everything you were saying is everything that I preach because
Yes.
being a business owner is heavily to do with the journey of self.
Yes. Yes. You cannot be a
And
great business owner if you're not a great person. It just does not work.
it's
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 a
not
facade.
aligned. You
Yes, it's not
have to
aligned.
align
Yeah.
and you have to live your own word, your own messaging, what you would tell your clients. A lot of people struggle with that and a lot of people aren't doing that, and like you said, they look at someone else and get envious, but it's like, okay, are you willing to do what that person does to get what that person has?
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
you you can have it if you exactly mirror them, but if that doesn't
Mm,
match who you are as a person, what's going to fit your lifestyle and what's going to fit your particular brand, what you're willing to get up day in day out, when it gets boring, when you're tired of it, when
hmm
when it's not fun, when it's not sexy anymore, are you going to still be doing it?
Yep. Yep.
Mm, mm,
And I will say like so last year was a really really rough, like it was a rough year
mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship. I was like, this is not for me. I'm gonna go get a real job. I was just like a little ready to give up on the whole process
Yeah.
because it was business, it was personal, it was family, it was health. This was my probably third really bad experience with depression and anxiety. Like I was in the gutter.
Mm,
And when you're the person that's like most people come to you for like everything.
Yeah.
You really are looking and seeking and like, okay, can I really go to this person for these types of things? And last year, it was like I could barely like just do all the things that I want to do, right? I could barely do one thing. And so last year I was like, okay, I I'm gonna sit in this depression because this is probably what it's gonna take for me to get out of it. But I'm gonna commit to
Mm,
doing one thing to grow my business, like just one thing. And that one thing was posting on LinkedIn every day. Like regardless of
okay.
how it sounded, regardless of how I felt that day, regardless of perfection or anything like that. I was just going to post one thing about my industry, about my business that I could just share with people on LinkedIn. Just by doing that one thing, like committing to that process, my LinkedIn profile went from like 2,000 something followers to almost 7,000 now.
Wow.
And I have so much engagement on that platform within just less than a year of like
Wow.
committing to something that I could have just easily said, I'm not going to do this, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like doing anything else that I was doing,
Right.
right?
But you
And it felt
committed to that
like
one thing.
I committed to that one thing, and it's just the power of like commitment, because with commitment comes consistency, right? When you commit to doing something, and it's like, okay, there's nothing that can stop me from doing this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is the result of that, and so it's you don't have you're not going to be perfect in it. Like I still am working on areas of consistency in my personal life, in my business life, with my family, like things like that. But if you can get to 80%,
Mm-hmm.
that might be your 100% for that day or that week. But if you're at zero, you have to jumpstart some kind of way.
Yeah.
So that's why I always tell people, like, okay, just start. Just start with one thing. And when
Mm-hmm.
you say, okay, I'm going to commit to do this one thing, regardless of whatever, it leads to consistency, and then it leads to you being consistent in other things.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's an internal process more than an external process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the internal leads to you getting the external rewards that you were seeking anyway.
Yes, yes, I
Just
wanted to
showing
grow
up.
on LinkedIn anyway. Like I wanted to get to a point where most of my inquiries were coming from LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what happened. Like just by sharing the information that I already knew, it didn't take me, I didn't learn nothing new. It's the information I already had in my brain. Just by sharing
Mm-hmm.
that in different formats, it has led to that. It has led to that outcome. So it's the outcomes are there. We can set so many outcomes and so many results and so much say so what we want. But if we don't do the thing to get to the thing, then it's not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. And you were using what you already knew was tried and true. Like you said, it's not magic.
Yes.
It was committing to, deciding to, and with it's so funny that, the word commitment just made me think of like marriage in my mind, which automatically took me to thinking about the show Love is Blind.
Oh my
Have you
God.
seen season 6 of Love is Blind?
I have not watched the whole entire season. I've watched a
Okay.
couple of episodes, and
Hmm.
I can just never get through like an entire season of Love Is Blind. Love
Well,
is Blind.
girl, let me tell you, it was good this season, and a lot of people were watching this season, and I had skipped a few seasons. Of course, I saw the first one, when it first came out and things like that. But it made me think of that because there's this guy on there named Clay, and
Hmm.
he wasn't sure that he was going to be able to show up consistently for the woman that he was supposed to be in love with. Her name is AD.
Hmm.
So he ended up saying no to her at the altar. They didn't get married because he didn't feel like he could show up every day as the man who she thought, or he thought that he should be as a husband. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
And that just made me think of that, because it's like when you get married, it's almost like a switch is flipped, right?
Right.
You've made a decision, you've made a commitment that this is who you are now. This is the identity that you've adopted, and this
Hmm.
is what you're going to do day in and day out. That's your vow, right? And so it made me think about that when you were talking about just, if nothing else, you were going to show up on LinkedIn every day because you committed
Mm-hmm.
to yourself. I don't know if you had an accountability partner or if you just decided yourself that, like, you know what, this is tried and true. Just like a lot of things with our lifestyle that we know,
Yeah.
we're looking for pills, we're looking for quick fixes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that consistent sleep and fruits and vegetables and exercise, we know that these things have been out for hundreds of years are
Mm-hmm.
going to work.
Yeah.
And you knew that just sharing yourself, sharing your writing over and over again was going to garner you the attention that you were looking for. And I think a lot of people miss that,
Mm-hmm.
especially because everything is so fast with us nowadays. Our attention span is really short and we think it's not working, but it actually is working.
Yes. Yes, it's
So,
working behind the scenes. So I
mhm,
tell people this too when like they are posting to social media, they're like, "Well, I only got 2 likes and I only got 1 follow." I'm like, "You need to just keep going because you will never get to 10 likes if you don't start with 2." Like
mhm,
it's we don't like the process of commitment.
mhm,
But who you are now, like to your point about marriage, like who you are now is who you gonna be in marriage. That's
mhm.
if you haven't
Oh,
made changes to
girl.
be a good person, you're not gonna be. It's not magic. Like it's not magic. It's not
It's
like something's
not.
gonna flip when you get walk down the altar. And I, to your point, that's I feel
Mhm.
what happened with Clay and AD is like Clay never had intentions to be this man
Right,
because he
right.
was
Like
done
he was telling
already.
his friends, "Oh, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy." He knew
He
he
was
wasn't
not.
that guy.
Exactly. So he's not. He wasn't going to be the guy when she went down the altar. And I have a whole diatribe on marriage and relationships that could be, a whole nother episode. But to that point, if you're not the person now, you're not finna be the person when you make $1 million.
Mhm.
Who says like how did you come to this conclusion?
Mhm.
Because you're not that person now. And so I have had to sit with myself and be like, okay, you want all these things out of life, you want to do all these things in your business, you want this and you want that, and I want a lot. Like being the eldest, being the eldest child, I want a lot.
I'm the eldest
Um,
too. Yeah, I can relate, girl. Yes.
yes. So it's like okay, but you got to do the things though.
Yeah,
You got to do the things. Like it's not magic. You have to become that person that you say you want to be. Like you got to become that person now. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Talk about your podcast a little bit because I'm thinking of that now. Your podcast is called Hashtags and Habits. You're
yes.
you're
The
giving away the game right there in the title.
The name of the podcast literally came out of like my just depressive episode. Like, okay,
Mhm.
you need to do something. Something needs to change. It's something, and I get the most joy out of like creating. And so when I'm doing the same thing every day, it doesn't help me. It doesn't help my mental, it doesn't help my mental state. And so
Mhm.
this podcast, the name of this podcast, like literally came out of that. Like I couldn't sleep one night and it was like, this is gonna be your name, this is gonna be your podcast. And I was like, let me write that, write that down. And then I went, found the domain name, found all the art, did all the things, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be my next creative, like all in project. And so the podcast is really a hybrid between doing the things to become the person
Mhm.
and then doing the things on your business to have the business that you want. Like it's a hybrid between those two. So hashtags is the social media reference because
Mhm.
everyone talks about growing on social media and all of that. And then the
Right.
habits is like, well, you're not going to grow unless you do certain things. And so season 2 just kicked off last month. No, yeah, last month.
Mhm.
And the first episode was about consistency because it was like this is like the number one topic about everything else that I talk about with clients that I go through in life. Like this is the number one topic. And
Yes.
so that was the first episode of season 2. We're in season 2 now, and so yeah, it's been an interesting journey so far. It's been interesting because now it's like okay, finding the time to
Mm.
continue this podcast
Yeah.
because there's a lot of other things that are happening in the business now that weren't happening last year, And so it's like, okay, you're going to do this podcast. This is going to be your thing for however long. And it's just about finding the time now. But I love the topics that I'm talking about because it's something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
We are like, I think we're close to like 20 something thousand downloads or something like that. So I'm like,
Yes.
yay for that. People are listening. Um,
Yay.
so yeah, I'm just going to continue. That comes out once a week, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's on Apple, Google, all the
Yes.
places. So yeah.
Y'all, please go listen to Hashtags and Habits. It's an easy name to remember. And I've been listening to it. Oh, what were you? Are you going to say
I was
something?
gonna say one other thing because
Yes.
this name was the only name I got for the podcast. Like even when I was searching like okay, brand names and stuff,
Hmm.
this name just kind of like came to me out of nowhere. And I did not know how this name was going to be taken because I wasn't totally feeling it. But literally, when I meet new people and like I introduce them to the podcast, it's the first thing that comes out of their mouths like, oh my gosh, I love this name. This name is so unique.
Yeah.
I get Facebook messages from people and they're like, this name is like everything. I love this. I love
I'm
this name.
feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the name. And let me tell
I'm
a
like,
few
oh,
reasons.
okay.
Let me tell you why I'm feeling the name. First of all, I have a creative brain, and you and I have a lot of similarities. And I
Yes.
started off in school as a psychology major. I was writing poetry in middle school and things like that. And so when you have a creative brain like that and you love writing, then you love little geeky, nerdy things about
Mm-hmm.
writing. So
Yep.
I love the alliteration. I'm like, ooh, H and H, hashtags and habits. You know what I'm saying? I
Yes.
love that. And you're telling people straight up from the name and the title, you gave away the game right there. Like that's what it takes. Hashtags and habits. Habits is that consistency. Like that's the underlying foundation of what you
Yep.
are letting everybody know is to be consistently in who you are as a brand,
Yep.
consistently is who in who you are as a person. Those habits being in alignment with that is what's going to get you everywhere. And the hashtags piece, you know, when you're in business, you start to really appreciate the value of hashtags and what they are. It is
Yes.
how you are searched. And so what is your identity?
Mm-hmm.
What are those little labels? What are your little searchable things about you as a person or as a brand that is going to magnetize this community to you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because you're wanting to find the people that like you, the people that are into what you're in, your resonant community, right? So you have to be showing up as that person speaking that language so that when they search for that, you
It's
pop
what
up.
you pop up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So you have to be that person, that you have to be what is searched for. And that's where the
Yes.
hashtags comes in, because the hashtags is confirmation
Mm-hmm.
that you are being consistent and you do have your brand identity and your personal identity established.
Yes.
Otherwise it would be incongruent.
That is very true. I was in Mexico 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was listening to a presentation from another marketing agency, and they typed in a keyword in Google like looking for something else. And we
Hmm.
showed up on first page, number 5, and I was like, "Do y'all see us right there? This is what I'm
Get it,
talking about.
girl.
This is what I'm talking about right here." Like when you're looking
Yes.
for whatever you're looking for, like we need for you to come up because I was explaining to them about SEO and getting their website together and all of this. And so she was like, "Oh, well, I saw something else," and she typed in a keyword, and she was like, "Well, let me look at the website." First of all, the website was on page 2, and I was like, this is you see this
Mm,
number 5 first page, this is what we're talking about right here.
exactly.
So you got to show up in all the places, like do the things to show up in all the places because that's what drives sales, that's what drives visibility, that's what drives new clients. Like if they don't see you, they're not going to buy from you, they don't know you
Exactly.
exist. So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And showing up on that first page, you are absolutely right. I was talking to I was talking to my friend Jade about this. She was on the podcast too, maybe last week or the week before,
Hmm.
and we were talking about does anybody ever get to the second page? You know what I'm saying? Let alone the third page. So showing up right there, right then and right there is showing the strength
Hmm.
of who you are as a brand, and using the proper language of your audience, and that
Yeah.
your audience will resonate with and everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
For
Oh
sure.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Danny, okay, tell everybody where they can find you, what it is that you want them to know, maybe something that we didn't talk about, or something that, a take home, or some way that you want people to connect with you, because I know people are going to have so many more questions now for how they need to show up,
Yes.
and how it's going to be lucrative for them and bring that money in the door, which is what they're really looking for,
Hmm.
and having that business freedom and everything that they how they envision their lives to be. So tell us how we can connect with you.
Yes. So I'm on all of the social platforms. So it's either M Danny White or Danny White. You can just look for me there. You'll find me. I'm also offering strategy sessions, like brand strategy sessions, for $2.99 for 60 minutes. So if anyone wants to talk about their personal brand, get ideas or strategies about how to build their personal brand, I'm game for it. It's the thing that I enjoy the most. So let's talk about that. And then the podcast, like the podcast hashtags and habits, that's what I'm pushing a lot this year. So listen, subscribe, rate, review. I don't care what your review is, 5 stars or more. If you got anything less, keep it to yourself. But yeah, listen, it's on all the podcast platforms, and yeah, just let me know.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming and enlightening us today. And I love for my community to be introduced to you, because I love people that are congruent with what we have to talk about, and understanding that this is a whole lifestyle,
Hmm.
and we have to be congruent with the things that we want in life. We have to be an energetic match.
Yes.
And just you coming on here with the holistic vision of it all.
Hmm.
And I didn't used to be a believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. I'm like, well, come on, no, that's not. But the way you really illustrated that opened up my eyes to it a bit.
Yay.
Yeah. You opened up my eyes today, and like, you know what? She is right, because when you're on your A game, you're on your A game, and it
Hmm.
all ties in together. It's like, if you start sleeping better, if you start hydrating more, maybe your energy will go up.
Hmm.
If you
Yep.
start looking like you want to look, your confidence will go up. If you
Yes.
stay consistent and continue to post on LinkedIn, you will get that recognition and get that dopamine released to your brain.
For
And you'll
sure.
get
Yeah.
hits saying, it's working, it's working.
Hmm.
And that will then encourage you to keep doing it, to
Yes.
keep showing up more and more and more. So the more you show up, the more you do, the more your incongruence, the more you stay true to your commitment, the better, the easier life
The
is.
easier life is. Yes. Yes. The easier life is. So
Isn't that
then
crazy
you,
how being regimented gets
yes.
you freedom?
Yes. Because then you start to be like, okay, these are the things that I can do, and these are the things that I can't do, or I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
And it just, it becomes more. I read a book once that was like, it said something to the fact that you should make decisions before you have to make the decision.
What,
Like,
explain that.
make your decisions like mentally and internally before you have to make decisions publicly. So that's your
Okay.
yes is yes and your no is no. You don't like have to
Right.
think about it like, oh, if they pay me enough money, I might, like, oh, if they look cute, I might, like, you don't have to go through all those levels of thinking, right? Because you already made the decision in your head.
I love that.
So yeah, there's certain like decisions that I've also made like in my life in and around that. Like, okay, Mondays, don't ask me to go out nowhere. It's a no.
Okay.
If you got
Mm-hmm.
anything planned on a Monday, I'm not coming. Like, it's just a no.
Mm-hmm.
Because Monday is my day to do all of my planning. It's my day to do like all of my internal work, all of my reading. That's my day, right? And so I don't let people invade that day. It's just a no. Like I've
Yes.
already made that decision. So I feel like that principle is like also just helped me a lot in life to be like, okay, I can say no and I can say yes to certain things because I've already said yes or no internally
Ahead of time.
ahead of time. Yeah.
Oh, Danny, I could just talk to you forever. This is so refreshing because it's like you set the boundary before the boundary had to come up.
Yes.
And that gives you more confidence in saying no because it's like, hey, I'm not just saying no to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying yes to me and what I've already established.
Yeah.
So you coming in on this particular day is an automatic no.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps like create that barrier of feeling bad about telling somebody no
Oh yeah.
because you're
Oh
like, this
yes.
is already established.
This is already my thing. This is what I am. This is what I do. You coming in at the
Mhm.
last minute saying something else, it's just automatic no. I still love you though.
I like it. I
Still
like
love you, but
it.
it's a no. Yeah, yeah.
I like it. I like it. I've been teaching my son lately about making a checklist at night of what
Mhm.
how he wants to go. He wants the day to go the next
Mhm.
day
Yep.
because I'm teaching him before he gets out of this house on his own for college how to decide ahead of time the way that you want your day to go and to be
Yeah.
intentional with your
Yes.
life before somebody comes at you with something. You've already decided what your standards and boundaries are and how you want your life to go.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like that's really important, especially for kids that are going off to college, like they're leaving home, they're
Mhm.
going to another city or state. That is really important because people always gonna have something for you to do. It might not be right.
Mhm.
Some of it, and most of it's not gonna be right for you,
Right.
right? They always gonna have something for you. Like it's up to
Mhm.
you to like hold that standard or that boundary. So yes, like for an example I have, like when I was first starting to work out like years ago, like work out consistently, I
Mhm.
slept in my gym clothes because it saved me the decision. Oh, when I don't feel like waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you already got your gym clothes on. Wash your face and get in that car and go to the gym.
Oh, girl, I love
It helped.
it.
It helps me so much just to like get the consistency and the discipline of working out for 45 minutes every day without
Mhm.
having to think about it. So when you got to get up, you got to figure out what to wear. You get stuff don't fit. You don't like this. It's not washed. You ain't do the laundry this past week. It's always
Mhm.
gonna be something. So when
Right.
I was first starting that discipline, it was like, okay, I read a book. Listen, I'm a reader and a writer. I love reading books. I love
Yes.
writing.
Me
And in
too.
that book, it was a book on discipline, and it was like it was one thing the author did. He slept in his gym clothes because it saved him the decision of like having to get up in the morning and make the decision of whether or not you can work out or not. It's just like it's an automatic yes because you already dressed.
You're
You already
already
dressed for
dressed, so
it.
that takes away a lot of your
Yes,
excuses.
yes, yeah,
Man, I was just talking to my mom about that yesterday. I was saying sometimes I just get up and put my gym clothes on. That way, if I have a moment, I'm already dressed.
yes.
I'm already dressed for it. I'm already in the mindset of it.
To
And
this
that
day,
takes
I still
away.
do. I still do that. I still sleep in my gym clothes, and in the morning, you going to do some kind of working out because you can't go nowhere else with these clothes on.
Yeah, you have to. You're already dressed as the
Yes,
character.
yes.
You've already slipped into the avatar the
Yeah.
night before.
Yep. Yep. It has helped me.
Wow.
So it has helped me to just be disciplined in that area because
Mhm.
I'll be quick to just be like, I didn't wash clothes. I'm finna go back to bed. Not
Mhm.
going. But
Mhm.
it has helped me to. It's just and it's so small, like it's so little, but it's the little things that like compound over time that make
Yeah.
the big things better. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of those little things that have just like helped me get better at life, not just
Same.
at making more money, but like at
Yeah.
life, just being a better human.
Right.
That's yeah, it's just those little things.
I love that. Yeah, the little things like not giving yourself an option. It's just is what it is. It's just a part
Hmm.
of who you are and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Danny. Okay, we have to get out of here. We are going to close up. You all, please connect with Danny if you are a small business, you have a brand that you are in trying to increase your presence to your audience and you're trying to increase your profits, step your
Yes.
game up. And look, Danny might just put you in your place about your personal habits too. So get ready to get ready to be a better human being if you are going to be in Danny White's presence, okay? Danny, give us your social media, your website, everything, how you want us to contact you one last time before we get out of here.
Yes. So the website for the podcast is podcast.com. Our agency website is dwccagency.com. And then my personal social media is on LinkedIn. It's Danny White, just all spelled out. On all the other platforms, it's Danny White. If it don't look like me, it's not me. So I think it's Danny White on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Well, we are going to put your links and everything for everyone who is in our Facebook community, Seeking Bliss, a global community for women's elevation. We'll be sure to have Danny's links, her contact information in there so that you can reach out to her and find her and work with her. Thank you again, Danny, for coming on, talking to us about your life, being so open and so transparent and being a part of our community. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. This was really fun. I'm glad we got to meet. And yeah, to all the future wonderful things that will happen for us in the future and for everyone in
Yes.
this community, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Okay. Bye, everyone.